It's Peanut. I have not been able to find another double, at least not one that's busted up or needs work. Just found nice ones, which I don't want to buy. So I decided I would just branch out and look for some single barrels. Didn't find any 12s, but I found a couple 20s today. And here's one of them. It's a 20 gauge single shot Victor ejector. Crescent Arms Company. Made in the USA. Kind of hard to read. There's a little bit of case colors left on it. And nice little patina, which I might just leave alone. Because I don't want to interrupt those case colors. But really pretty solid gun. The bluing's pretty nice. Couple spots needs fixed. It works like it should. I haven't shot it yet, but everything works like it should. First thing I'm going to do, I am going to sand this down and redo the stock because it's a little rough. We'll take a closer look at it, but first thing I'm going to do is fix that. Okay, now that's original butt stock or butt pad, butt plate. It's a plastic. It's not plastic. I don't know what they called that plastic 100 years ago. The name for it. If you know, put it in the comments because I could keep forgetting it. But it's original butt plate, and it's cracked. And I'm not going to get another one and cut it down. I'm just going to put some epoxy on that. And I got my epoxy picked out. Gorilla epoxy. It goes on clear. I'll put some clear in there. First I got to do some work to it. I got to take the butt plate off, put some tape underneath so the epoxy doesn't stick to the wood. And then I got to make a dam with tape so the epoxy doesn't spill out over the edge. And then I'll just put some epoxy on there and let it dry and file it. And I'll probably wind up just painting the whole buttstock. Now that is like a deep maroon. It'll probably just be black. Now what I usually do, because that's thick enough, is I'll drill a couple holes in there and I'll put a couple tiny finishing nails in that up. You'll see what I mean when I get it done. That'll help hold the epoxy, you know, kind of like a rebar does for cement. But it'll be a weak spot, but it'll be covered. Anyway, that's my first task. I'm going to get started and I'll show you my process as I go. A closer look at this gun. The stock's in pretty nice shape, but it needs refinished. It's got some scrapes and some scratches. Of course, you've seen this. That I will fix. Bakelite or something they call that stuff. I don't know, but we'll fix it. We'll make it look good. There really isn't that much rust. It's got a nice little patina. There's Victor. Oh, it was focused. Victor ejector. Crescent Firearms. No, I can't see what that says. And then made in USA. And the fore stock, the fore end. I see that has a crack in it. I'll have to address that. And a tiny crack right there, which I'll have to address. And the barrel overall is pretty nice. It's got one spot. I don't know if it looks like it's rust. I'll clean that up. And that's a quick look at it up close. It does have some case colors, so I'm going to try to save all that, of course. This side doesn't have any case colors. It's just patina. I don't know. Maybe we'll wind up just cleaning it and bluing it. This is an old gun. This is made, I think they stopped making these in the 1930s, so what are the odds? You know, it's damn near 100 years old. There's a little closer look at it. Now I'm going to start work. Big crack running down my fork grip. You can't see it on this side, so I'm just going to put some super glue in that. Try to open it up and put as much super glue in there as I can, and hopefully that'll hold it, especially if there's just a little bit on the top maybe. There's a crack on the back. Probably can't see it. It's very faint. I'm going to do the same thing with that, put some super glue in it. I got my foregrip clamped with glue on it, and now I'm starting sanding my, look at the size of that screw. God bless them. Going to start sanding my stock down. I think that's 100 grit. 100 grit. And I'm going to use this here as much as I can. So I got her sanded down pretty good. I'm pretty sure that's walnut, so it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just going to stain it walnut again. But I got a lot of scratches out of it, smoothed it up, and when I'm done I'll probably give it a coat of lacquer. But I'm not going to do that yet. First I'm going to work on this here, because when it's all said and done, I'm going to sand around this so it fits nice and flush. So right now I'm going to work on this. I got my buttstock taped off so the epoxy doesn't stick to it. I drilled holes into, I think this is called Bakelite, but we'll call it plastic from now on. The plastic, I drilled holes. I super glued some nails. Those nails are about halfway in, super glued, and I bent them a little bit so they can conform, and that'll help keep that epoxy from breaking or sliding off or coming loose. Probably should have used screws, but I think it's going to bond just fine. Now I'm going to take tape, build a little dam around it, and then mix up my epoxy. I don't know if you guys want to see me do that or not. I'll just show you what I'm going to do with my dam here. That's basically it. Just take a piece of tape around the outside of it, build a little dam. That's all it'll take. I'll get some epoxy in there. We'll give it time to harden up. And then we'll do some sanding or some filing, whatever's required. I did oil that side of the nail just a little bit so I can get the nut, or not the nail, the screw. Just a little bit of oil on that screw so the epoxy won't stick fast to it. So I'm ready to put the epoxy in. I'm going to do that now. I made like I said, a dam, and I got my epoxy sitting in there. I don't want to see if I move it, it tends to run. So I can't quite show it to you yet, but I got it in there. It's supposed to set up in 5 minutes. It looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. Get some of the bubbles out of it. I think it's going to work pretty good. I've used it before, not the Gorilla stuff, cheaper stuff, and it worked pretty good. Same deal, I used nails like that, or I used screws, I can't remember, but it worked pretty good. And once that dries, I really like that red, but I'm probably going to have to paint it black so it all looks the same after I file it. I won't be able to do any checkering, so maybe this will get sanded. There's light checkering on it. But now I gotta wait for it to dry 5 minutes. It's been way over 5 minutes and it's still not hard yet. I'm pretty sure I mixed it pretty thoroughly. We'll give it half an hour to dry. My stock, because it's all round, there's no flat spots on it. I had to hand sand that. But it come off pretty easy, whatever was on it. A lacquer probably, since it's so old. Like I said, this is probably 100 years old. It's in excellent shape for its age. There was a tiny little split inside there, and the hole was well, the hole split with the wood. So I filled the hole up with super glue and baking soda. You put super glue in there and a little baking soda, and the super glue hardens instantly. It turns it to like almost like a plastic. And what I'll do is I'll just drill a new pilot hole and put a new screw in there. It was missing a screw. Guess I should have started with that. I had one screw in the foregrip, which is probably why it was missing this back one. Probably why the foregrip cracked. It wasn't securely fastened to the iron like it should have been. 1474. That's the build number. And I think it's on everything. I don't see it on this. Doesn't mean it wasn't on it. But that's where I am now. I got this done. The stock's sanded. I'm ready for stain. But I gotta let that dry and sand that first. The butt cap. And the receiver, I think I'm going to work on that with some oil and my copper pot scrubber and see if I can get just a little bit of that rust off. Just try to brighten it up a little bit. It's got just a little bit of case colors left, and I hate to lose it. I'd just love to just glue this whole receiver. But if I can, it's got case colors in it, let's put it that way. If I can bring some of them out, we'll leave it clean. I'll work on that now. Gorilla epoxy needs 30 minutes to dry. I thought it said 5. It says sets in 5 minutes on it, but you're supposed to give it 30 minutes, it says. A little bit of hops, number 9, and my pot scrubber. I was able to get a lot of rust off. And I saved a lot of case coloring. There's no case coloring on this side at all, but there's some down here and over here, and on this side you can see a lot of case coloring. And then you can actually read the imprint better. Victor, Ejector, Crescent Fine Arms Company. Still can't read the bottom. Something, not something in USA. But top of the barrel says made in USA. We know it's made in USA. Why? Because it's still working. Got a few things done. My Gorilla Glue, Gorilla Epoxy, sets in 5 minutes. I don't believe it. It's been an hour and it's still soft. I was hoping I could be sanding it by now, but I got some of that ran underneath, which is good. That'll help hold it. I still got my tape dam that I can't take off because it's pulling the glue, the epoxy. It's just too soft. So it's going to have to sit overnight, and hopefully it'll be rock hard in the morning. Should be rock hard now. That cheap stuff I bought that time and used on another one of these, it was rock hard within an hour. Not rock hard, but hard enough I could sand it. So just a little bit of sanding and some paint, and this is done. I can put it back on. I did my fore end. I stained that, a couple coats of lacquer while I was waiting. I put my new screw in, one that was missing. Got that nice and tight. 2 coats of lacquer is enough. Not doing much more with the receiver because I see some case colors and I like that. It's got a nice patina to it. It looks old because it is old. The barrel doesn't feel real smooth, but it looks good. We're going to leave it alone. So I got the gun that far. I want to take this out and shoot it in the morning. I got my stock stained. I just took one coat, and I think because it was walnut, it took really good. Now I'm waiting for it to dry so I can lacquer it. You can tell when it's really dry because you won't smell it anymore. I'll probably let this dry an hour or two, and then I'll give it a couple coats of lacquer, and then it'll be all ready to go. Maybe I can put it on, and then I'll just be waiting on the butt plate. This is kind of annoying. The Gorilla Glue, I thought, or the Gorilla Epoxy, I thought would be really good stuff. It was expensive, about $8, $9. And I used half a tube, or half the container on this. I did it once, and it didn't set up. I waited an hour, and it was still really gooey, so I pulled it all off, cleaned it all up, and I redid it. I mixed up some more, put on it. Now this has gotten hard. It's set up. It's set in probably 10, it says 5 minutes, but probably set in 10 where you could touch it. It's been an hour now. I was able to, because I put tape on the end of the stock, I was able to pull it off. And now all I got is this. Hopefully it gets air from both sides. It can dry quicker, harden up overnight. Maybe in the morning I can fix that up real quick. I'm hoping to have this done by morning. I'm a pound it out, get her done kind of guy. The stock needs another hour or two to dry. I still smell the stain pretty good, but that's where I am right now. When something happens, if I get it, the stock lacquered and get it back on the gun, I'll post an update, or if not, it'll be morning. We'll get this sanded down, get a coat of paint on it, get it looking like it should. It'll never look like it did when it was new, but it'll look better. That's where I am right now. It took all night, but my butt plate finally dried. It doesn't look too bad. I could sand it a little bit better, but it's functional. It's there, it completes the gun. So there's my 100-year-old Victor ejector. I don't know if this thing actually has an ejector. If it does, it doesn't work. You can extract them as an extractor, I assume, but not an ejector. It's called an ejector. That's kind of weird. You know, let me know. From my research, like I said, they're 1910, 1930, something like that. Yeah, so I put it about 90 years old. Good old single shot. Anyway, hope you liked the video. And as always, thanks for watching. Not my best work, but it looks better than it did. Add on, I finally figured out why this was called a Victor ejector. The ejector was worn a little bit. I had to put a little bit of spot of weld on it so it would fully seat. You put a round in it, and that's why it's called a Victor ejector. I think that's just cool as shit. For almost 100-year-old shotgun, see that again. Thanks for watching.